Roumeli. In its sacred lands, courage and self-denial erected monuments of immortal glory and virtue. Every inch of land displays the fighting greatness of the people of Roumeli, who accepted the call of sacrifice. Tears and altercations, riots and holocausts, mourning and bloodshed, orphans, widows, but also justification of struggles and triumph of the winners. Everything knits a thorn or a winning wreath in e-evrytania, Alamana, Gravia, Salona, Dorida, and Thebes. The Greek Revolution of 1821 was the armed uprising carried out by Greek rebels against the Ottoman army with the aim of overthrowing Ottoman rule and created an independent state. Many revolutions against Ottoman rule had taken place in Greece before 1821. As soon as the place begins to be shaken off by the Orlov movement, the Armatoloi of Roumeli, Thessaly, and Epirus, together with the other men at arms, Kleftes, will lead the struggle. In e-evrytania, its inaccessible areas offered protection to its fighters who in every way tried to liberate our areas from the Turkish yoke. During the Russian-Turkish War of 1768 to 1774, there was an uprising of enslaved Greeks. Captains, men-at-arms, and Kleftes from e-evrytania took part in this war in 1770. In the western continental Greece, Boukouvalas proclaims the revolution in the area of Agrafa in 1769 and clashes with the Turk-Albanians in western Agrafa. Xiromero also revolts. Stathas Gerodimos revolts in the area of Valtos and collaborates with the Boukouvalas family. Karpenisi revolts with Alexis Karakitsos and the Sikades. In Valtos, Stathas Gerodimos managed to defeat the Turks and to occupy with raids in e-evrytania and Thessaly the Armatolikia of Karpenisi and Agrafa. From the 18th century, Kleftes began to show that they were capable of creating problems for the Ottoman rule. In 1800s to 1803, Katsadonis, together with his lads, took refuge in the team of the thief captain Vasilis Diplas, who was his godfather. Katsadonis was soon recognized as its leader and captain. In 1808, Katsadonis contacted smallpox and handed over the leadership of his men to his brother Lepeniotis. Some of the most heroic battles in which the family of Katsadonis defeated the Turco-Arvanites are 1805, Battle of the Aselo, Trifila, in the village of Klitsos in Agrafa. 1806, in the village of Kerasovo of Agrafa, he defeated Hassan Belusi and Besiar Bey in the monastery of Emilianos. 1807, Battle on the bridge of Manolis in the Agrafiotis River. 1808, in the village of Neraida in Agrafa, Katsadonis disbanded and dispersed the army of Hassan Belusi. 1809, in Papadia, in the settlement of Pavlopoulo, Lepeniotis, with 18 men, beats 300 Turk Arvanites with the aid of Dervenagas Suleiman Toti. Ali Pasha offered the power in the place of Agrafa to Lepeniotis, and in the autumn of 1811, he settled in Agrafa as the local leader. However, he refused to appear in front of Ali Pasha and pay homage to him. He was cowardly murdered at Easter 1812 in the village of Furna in e-evrytania. The Greek Revolution began in Iasio, Moldova, by the leader of the Society of Friends, Alexandros Ypsilatis, on February the 24th, 1821. By the side of Alexandros Ypsilatis stood Athanasios Karpenisiotis from e-evrytania, who previously had fought in the Russian-Turkish War. He began as a member of the Society of Friends at 1818, and in the Greek Revolution of 1821, he led the Greeks to the battles of Galatsi and Skouleni, in which he fell heroically. Some of the most important battles and events of the Greek Revolution in e-evrytania. March 3rd, 1821, the Battle of Tatarna. Odysseas Androutos and the abbot of the Tatarna monastery, Kyprianos, struck an enemy money heist led by Hassan Bey Gekas and more than 60 selected armed escorts. Their leader, Hassan Bey Gekas himself, falls dead. Androutos set free all of the survived enemies. He also gave them all the money of the mission, so as to be returned to their respective pashas. In this way, Androutos sent the great proud message that the struggle was for freedom and not for looting, a move with a huge symbolic meaning. May 10, 1821. Kostas Velis proclaims the revolution to the enslaved people of e-evrytania in Kerasochori. Kostas Velis from Kerasochori gathers the chiefs at his house, raises the flag of revolution, and proclaims the revolution in Agrafa with the relevant proclamation. June 4, 1821, the Siege of Karpenissi. On June 4th, the local chiefs, the Yoldasis family, Katsikogiannis and Braskas, began the siege of Karpenissi, forcing the enemy to retreat. The Turks asked for the help of Khurshid Pasha, who sent Veli Bey from Epirus with 500 Turk Arvanites. He managed to recapture Karpenissi, and after he looted it, he burned it. But he understood that he could not hold the city, so he looted the villages of Potamia, June 20 to 21st, and burned houses in the villages of Boutiro, Koriskhades, Gorianades, as well as the two monasteries of Koumassia and Mesabellia. Then, the Yoldasis and Braskas family clashed with them in Biara and scattered them. The Turks left to Epirus, and the Greeks liberated Karpenissi. January 1822, invasion of 1,800 Turk Albanians in Karpenissi. In January 1822, 1,800 Turk Albanians invaded Karpenissi. Captain Andritsos Safakas arrived for help and pursued them. For this action, the Minister of War of the Provisional Government of Greece sends him a letter of praise and awards him the rank of Heliarchos. August the 7th, 1823. Battle of Kefalogriso. In August 1823, Marcos Botzaris interrupted the course of the Turks, heading towards Mesolongi. The army of Mustafa Pasha of Skondra had encamped in Kefalogriso, where he received the sudden attack of the Greeks, suffering heavy losses, counting about 850 dead people. The victory was overshadowed by the loss of Marcos Botzaris, who fell on the battlefield. August the 28th, 1823. The Battle of Kalakuda took place in August 1823 with the victorious outcome of the Turks. On the first day, the 28th of August, Mustafa Pasha, with more than 10,000 fighters, attacked twice unsuccessfully and with heavy losses on the fighters of Zigouris Zavelas, who are hiding in Lakomata and on the steep slopes of Kalakuda. The next day, the policy remained the same, but the battle took an unpleasant turn, with 400 selected Mithrites, led by Mukhtar Kafazezi, managed to cross a steep path and attacked from behind. The Greeks were now surrounded, and in order to save themselves, are trying to disperse the enemy troops. During the battle, Zigouris Zavelas, Nikolakis Kondogiannis, Dimos Kitsios, Castaniotis, and 150 young men fell. The way to Mesolongi is now open to the enemy. May the 16th, 1824. The Battle of Vracha. Karaiskakis was ill in the monastery of Vracha. However, Karaiskakis' team fought against Ragos, Stournaris, and the Turks, as a result of which Karaiskakis' leader, Antonios Zaralis, was killed there. November 1828. The liberation of Karpenissi. In October 1828, Dimitrios Ypsilantis, along with 3,000 men, arrived in central Greece. He liberated towns and villages of Viotia, Parnasida, and Lokrida. Then Kitos Zavelas, with 1,000 men, with the 500-man strong corps of Nikos Zavelas, and with the military corps of Mastrapas, Makris, and the French general Denzel, which together reached 4,000 soldiers, went to Karpenissi, surrounding it by everywhere. On November the 10th, Zavelas and the other captains clashed with the Turks and captured a supply unit consisted of 200 animals carrying food to the army that besieged Karpenissi. All this time, Karpenissi experiences the last days of its slavery. The Turks are hungry, terrified, furious. Fortunately, the Greek families had left it, and so managed to escape the rage of the conqueror, which demolished all the materials belonging to Greeks. At dawn of November the 23rd, 1828, the Turks decided to leave Karpenissi. Hunger, cold, and disease no longer allowed them to stay in it. At 5 a.m, for destruction, they burned the long-suffering Church of the Holy Trinity. There, they became to exchange fires with Greek units. While the battle began to erupt, the 4,500 Turks managed to leave the city through the routes of Belouhi. From Karpenisi to Zacharaki, organized Greek troops ambushed and chased the Turks and the Arvanites of Karanfil and Aslab and inflicted significant damage on them. The Greeks attacked on the sidelines of Prophet Elias in Neochori, where the dense spurs helped their moves. The Greek troops entering the city saw a picture of disappointment. Everything was ruined by the revenge of the Turks, but Karpenisi, after 435 years of Turkish occupation, was finally liberated. "200 years since the Greek Revolution, the resurrection of a nation, the birth of a state. We grew our territory after successful expansions and integrations of important territories and dynamic Greek populations. We have consolidated the ideals of equality before the law and the state, and also we consolidated democracy. We have joined equally in the great societies of the independent states. We have managed to be an equal member of important alliances for the consolidation of stability and peace in the region. We hold an important position among the states of the mighty European Union, and we are among the 32 most prosperous states on earth. We achieved a lot. We enjoy prestige and respect in the global community. Continuing the same course together, we will achieve even more.